Welcome back to Seeing Red, Episode 10, going over UFC Las Vegas, Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili. And we also had in the co-main event, Alexander Volkov versus Alexander Romanov. Again, my name is Dustin here. Going to be going over the fights that just ended about, I would say, like an hour ago. Overall, it's a pretty good fight card there. I mean, the main event I was not a fan of because I was bored out of my mind. So we'll get into that one here just to start it off. Merab Dvalishvili wins a unanimous decision over Petr Yan, 5 rounds of shooting single legs and only landing about 7 out of the, 42 that he attempted there, and then just kind of pushing the pace the entire fight. I will give it to Merab. He is a workhorse. I mean, he does not slow down. So, I mean, you got to give it to him as far as having good cardio and being able to push the pace like he does, but I mean, I would be lying if I said I was a fan of Merab. I do not find him that exciting unless he's on the receiving end of some punishment, like in the Marlon Moraes fight, and he came back to win that one. But he actually got a finish in that one, so a little bit different circumstances. But in this one, Petr Yan just wasn't really able to get going there. He was just worrying about the takedown so much and just trying to defend that single leg pretty much the entire time, to where Merab was pretty much able to do whatever he wanted the entire time that the fight was going on. Just single leg after single leg, strike, get him up against the fence, single leg. I mean, it's kind of the Merab blueprint there, but not much really to go over in that fight other than Petr Yan is now on a 3-fight losing streak, all decisions. You got Aljo, you got Suga, and now you got Merab. So if you're a Petr fan, it's a rough time for you right now. But Merab, I mean, give it to him. 9-fight win streak, I believe, right now. Just beat the number 2 contender, so he'll definitely be jumping up in the rankings here. Now, being friends with Aljamain Sterling and training partners, I don't think he's going to be getting the title shot if Aljamain wins, because they've stated before they won't fight each other because of how close friends they are, which, thank God, because that matchup would be the most boring unless one of them actually decides to keep it on the feet. But I'm actually hoping Aljamain beats Cejudo, even though I think Cejudo will win, just so Merab does not get a title shot. You might have saw me going off on Twitter if you do follow me. I'm not a fan of Merab. I find him extremely boring, extremely one-dimensional, and he's not an enjoyable fighter to watch. Just plain and simple. I mean, he's a talented fighter, don't get me wrong. He's able to push the pace, but when you're just shooting 42 single legs the entire fight and you only land 7 of them, and one of them is because Yan just tipped over, he didn't even cause the takedown really, he just kind of fell. Like, I'm not a fan. I need you to do more. Like, I mean, I'm just some guy in my apartment here, so, I mean, I don't really hold much merit compared to maybe some of these other experts out there, but just from a fan that's been watching the sport for many years, I don't get excited when I see the name Merab Dvalishvili pop up on a card. I go, okay, cool, there's a bathroom break fight, or, hey, there's a let's go grab beer fight. Depending on who he's fighting, like, I remember the Marlon Moraes fight, I didn't think much of it, and it ended up being a banger. But that's because Merab was on the receiving end of some punishment and got dropped a couple of times, but then proceeded to come back and win the fight. So I was like, okay, that's an exciting fight. But this one, not so much. Was not a fan of it. I am a big Petr Yan fan, so maybe I'm just a little bit biased. Maybe I'm just a little bit salty as well, too. But at the same time, though, was not excited over this fight. Even my girlfriend was sitting here watching it with me, and she was going like, this guy sucks. Like, and she doesn't watch MMA a whole lot, but I mean, even from a naked eye, as someone that doesn't really watch the sport can tell, is like, this guy's boring. Why are you watching this? And I agree. I almost wanted to turn it off at times, but the degenerate that I am prevented me from doing so. So, therefore, I had to watch the entire 5 rounds of him crotch-sniffing Yan, which we'll get past it because I could go on and on and on about how boring this fight was, but, I mean, it was a high-paced fight, but it was just Yan trying to survive and not get taken down. That's pretty much all the fight was. It was nothing special. Co-main event, the battle of the Alexanders. Alexander Volkov versus Alexander Romanov. Now, I believe Romanov, since his last fight, his coach left the gym that he trains at. Then he proceeded to gain 30 pounds. And gaining 30 pounds in the heavyweight division probably doesn't help as much when you're already kind of a chunkier guy. And he was exhausted after the first takedown attempt against Volkov there. You could obviously tell once he didn't get the takedown, he was gassed, which is very shocking, especially at a fighter at this high of a caliber in the UFC. you should have a little bit better of a gas tank than that. Maybe off like the third takedown attempt if you're going back to back to back. But it doesn't even look like he used that much energy. And Volkov just kind of shrugged him off and then got the TKO win in the first. Like, literally not even half a round in. 2 minutes and 16 seconds in, Volkov was able to get the TKO. Now, if you watched the last video, I kind of said Romanov probably has a good chance to win because of his grappling. But with this weight gain and him not having the best cardio, and who knows, maybe his coach wasn't there to help him prepare the way he should have been prepared, he did not show the type of skill that we're all expecting from this guy, because he came into the UFC undefeated, lost a fight against Marcin Tybura, which was a decision. It wasn't like he got stopped or anything like that, but this is definitely a fall from grace from what we are expecting out of Romanov to now what we are receiving out of Romanov. So, not much to talk about in that fight either. I mean, if you bet on Volkov, you might have won some money there because he was a plus 130 going into the fight. Same with Merab being a plus 215. So if you parlayed those two together, congratulations, you won some cash. But yeah, that's about it for those two. But the fight that I was looking forward to 2 weeks ago in the main event, Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann, which was very interesting because I thought this fight was mostly going to play out on the feet. And it mostly played out on the ground entirely. I mean, about 3 minutes and 40 seconds in, Nikita Krylov was able to get a triangle that Ryan Spann kind of fell into because I think he was getting a little bit overzealous and impatient, and he was just kind of rushing the position there and not really setting back and waiting for an opportunity to kind of pounce there. And he was just kind of looking to hop in there and maybe get a ground and pound win, which against a guy like Nikita Krylov, probably not the best idea to go with since he does have a pretty good grappling background, especially in the UFC. So in this fight here, I did not expect it to end the way it did, but I mean, still wasn't a bad fight. That was a good fight. I mean, it was definitely entertaining for as long as it lasted, even though it did end up on the ground. Hey, Merab, take notes. If you're going to grapple your entire fight, at least make it exciting, because these guys were battling for position the entire time. It was entertaining to watch them scramble, and you don't see those kind of scrambles at the light heavyweight division, especially with these two guys who aren't necessarily, I mean, Nikita a little bit differently, but Spann's not really known for his grappling. He's known as a heavy hitter and a heavy striker there. So to see him kind of getting certain positions there, almost had Nikita in a guillotine at one point and then transitioned to almost like a, I want to say almost Doris Anaconda type choke there. And Nikita was able to survive, but yeah, just a small mistake by Spann to kind of fall on top of Nikita, and Nikita was taking advantage of it and just lock up a triangle pretty easily. So it was a good fight, though. I mean, not the fight I expected to play out there. I mean, definitely I did not expect that one to play out on the ground. I at least thought it was going to go at least a couple rounds, not end in the first. But big win for Nikita. I think you're going to start seeing him getting higher level opponents there, whether if you get like a Rakic in there or maybe like a Johnny Walker, something like that, or maybe even like an Anthony Smith. Because guys that he hasn't necessarily fought before that have been staples of the light heavyweight division, just to kind of get his name some more recognition, because he's been in the division for such a long time. And I mean, he's been well known, but he hasn't really had like standout performances where you're like, wow, this Nikita Krylov could make a run for the title. So I could expect him to start making a run at that title there and getting higher level competition like those names I just mentioned before. But big win for Nikita. Congrats to him. He was the favorite, minus 165, so looks like the odds kind of expected him to win. I don't know if they expect him to win like that, but it wasn't crazy. 165 to plus 140, so not like they thought he was going to win by a huge margin or anything. They just thought he had the edge. Now this fight, I thought this fight was pretty interesting. Said Nurmagomedov versus Jonathan Martinez. Martinez was able to get the unanimous decision, which I don't disagree that he could have won the fight. Just unanimous decision, though. I thought that was a little bit on the not so good on the judging side there, because I thought Said at least had Said winning personally. I just thought he was more active on the feet. He was more active on the ground, but I guess that arm bar that Jonathan had really kind of stuck in the judges' minds there, because I mean they gave him three rounds to nothing. I mean, congratulations to Jonathan Martinez, because I've been watching him for a while, and he's kind of a soft-spoken guy, doesn't really talk shit or anything like that. So to see him get a win over, nonetheless, a talented guy like Said, but also to get a win under the name Nurmagomedov, that's a huge feather in its cap already, because if you've been watching Said's career, That dude is nasty. The spinning techniques there, the way he throws his kicks up, and from the different angles he throws his kicks up, complete 180 from his cousin Khabib there. But at the same time, still a very tough fighter. I think he's very good as well, too. I think both of these guys are going to be staying in that division for quite a while, and you're probably going to see them fighting some upper echelon talent in the future. Now, maybe not in the immediate future for like Said, but I think Jonathan Martinez, just a win like that. I know he called out like Dominic Cruz, he called out Figgy, even though he forgot Figgy's name in the post-fight interview there. He at least got the name out there and wanted to fight him. So I think those are two good matchups. I think he probably, if I had to, between those two fights, I don't think he gets the Figgy fight. I think Figgy's probably going to try and get a top 5 fighter out of that bantamweight division since he's moving up after losing to Brandon Moreno. But at the same time, though, I mean, it's either way. If he fights Cruz, if he fights Figgy, I think they're great fights. I say, hear me out, I say you give him Cody Garbrandt, both coming off wins there. I think it's a good matchup. I got Martinez against Cody, definitely. It's a great fight, but Jonathan Martinez is your winner by unanimous decision, 3 rounds. Then you got another bantamweight fighter who actually showed up and showed out, and the odds definitely show that he was supposed to. You got Mario Batista here, who won via first-round submission against Guido Canetti, and the odds reflected that he was definitely supposed to win as well, too, because he was a minus 950 compared to Guido, who is a plus 650 there. So it definitely makes sense why he won. Mario Batista has kind of been kind of like Martinez as well, too. He's been a little bit quiet there, doesn't talk much shit or anything like that, but always game. I think this is his 4th finish in a row, and I don't know if I'm correct on this, so don't quote me, but I think this is his 4th submission in a row, because I know he's been on a kind of a submission streak lately, so good for him. Always like seeing an Arizona native kind of rep the state and get the wins, especially a guy like him, because he's nasty too. I mean, like, he's not also nasty on the ground, he's nasty on the feet. Like, he tags people up. He's got a flying knee win. Excited to see where he goes. Maybe you might see a Jonathan Martinez versus Mario Batista matchup down the road from now. Don't know. It's a fight I could see happening in the near future. Maybe not near future, but they fought on the same card there. Mario probably didn't take as much damage as Jonathan Martinez did, but I could see them making that fight later down the road there. Winner maybe gets like a top 15 opponent. Then you got Vitor Petrino versus Anton. I still can't pronounce his last name. Anton. We're going to call him Anton because that's all I know how to pronounce there. But Vitor was doing good in that fight there. I mean, he was tagging Anton on the feet when Anton is predominantly known as the striker. But it was kind of a sloppier fight there. I mean, they were tagging each other back and forth. But once it ended up on the ground, there was a clear difference in skill with Vitor there. Won a 3-round unanimous decision there, but at the same time, both these guys are very green into the UFC career. Vitor minus 105, Anton a minus 115, so virtually even odds there. If you would have went either way, couldn't blame you on that one. I just probably would have stayed away from that bet on my parlay. But that's a good fight to open up the card there. But, man, if you like sloppy heavyweight fights, then you must have loved Carl Williams versus Lukas Brzeski, because I don't think it gets any sloppier than that. Carl Williams knocks down Lucas in like the first round, I believe, and then proceeds to suplex him onto his head, which is crazy for a heavyweight to do there. I don't think we see many heavyweight suplexes in the UFC, but he was able to pull it off and get the unanimous decision as well, too. He was the favorite, minus 240 against plus 220 Lucas, but sloppy heavyweight fight. I mean, they got kind of tired into the second round there, which is to be expected when you got two guys that are pretty new into the UFC, so I wasn't expecting them to have cardio cane gas tanks like that. But another fight that, if you watched the last episode, that I was pretty excited for was Davey Grant versus Rafael Assunção. And Rafael Assunção, he's 40 and still fighting at bantamweight, which is very old for the lighter weight classes there. Davey Grant, just a killer. I mean, they were talking about on the broadcast, he calls himself dangerous because he likes to fight dangerous, which definitely shows. He's got that weird from orthodox switches to southpaw right in front of you, telegraphing it, and then wings, hooks left and right. And he's got a really wide left hook that kind of gets telegraphed, but people seem to get caught by it still. But What's crazy about this fight is that Davey Grant scored 2 knockdowns in this one with an overhand right, kind of stumbled to Sun Sao, and then with also a spinning back fist that led to a reverse triangle from the bottom and actually put a Sun Sao to sleep in the 3rd round. There was only like 15 seconds left on the clock there, and he was able to not even tap him out. He just went to sleep. And I know there was a fence grab there, and people are kind of be talking about that. But regardless, Davey Grant went out there, and he definitely performed. I am a Davey Grant fan. I remember him fighting Cheeto. Remember him fighting Louis Smolka. He even fought Jonathan Martinez. KO'd both Louis Smolka and Jonathan Martinez. So he's definitely a veteran of the sport there. And I think with a win like this over a veteran like a Sun Sao, who unfortunately, but not unfortunately, he retired after the fight there. I mean, he's had a long career, fought Dillashaw twice, Sandhagen, Marlon Moraes twice, Sterling. He's fought the who's who at bantamweight there, so he's been around forever. He's a legend in the bantamweight division. Sad to see him go at the same time, though. Congrats on the whole career. I mean, he's 40 years old, fighting at the lower weight classes. I think he even said going into this fight, if he didn't win, this is probably going to be his last fight. So I completely get it why he retired there. He probably wants to spend more time with his family if he has one. But congrats on an amazing career. Watched you since I was a kid in high school. So no shame in retiring after a fight like that, because you could argue that a Sun Sao was up on the scorecards till that spinning back fist landed. That led to the reverse triangle on the ground there that put him to sleep. But Davey Grant, keep an eye out on that guy's name. Fight before that, Cedriques Dumas versus Josh Fremd. Now, apparently there was a lot of hype going into Dumas there. I know he was known as a Miami street fighter, and if you kind of heard me there, I was hoping he had better skills than Kimbo did, which I think he did display. I think he had some slick striking, but there was definitely a discrepancy as far as skill goes on the ground, because once Josh Fremd was able to get it on the ground there, he had a nice judo throw there. I forget the exact name of the judo throw, so forgive me, but once he got him there, he actually John Jones'd him like he did against Cyril Gane. Choked him out right against the fence with that guillotine there, so big win for Josh Fremd. He had a good post-fight interview in the cage with DC where he basically promised Dana, I'm never going to lose again, which don't make those kind of promises. Just promise to perform, and then you'll probably have a good, long-lasting career in the UFC. Fight before that, you had Victor Henry versus Tony Gravely. Now, this is the one where you have the hair of the Lord, Victor Henry, who's got the luscious locks, versus Tony Gravely, whose only hair that he has is right on his chin. So, kind of a contrast of styles there, and also hairstyles. But split decision went to Victor Henry there. I thought it was a very entertaining fight there. This is one that I did have to watch at my desk at work, so didn't get to pay attention a whole too much, but from what I saw, very entertaining, very high-paced as well, too. Victor Henry is a very good fighter. I know he fought Sun Sao, lost the decision to Sun Sao there, which, again, legend. No, don't slouch your shoulders over that one there, but still, very good fight. Split decision for Victor Henry. And you had Ariana Lipsky get the unanimous decision over J.J. Aldrich, and man, poor JJ. She just turned into Lipsky's punching bag at a certain point there where she was just getting pieced up left and right. I mean, Ariana Lipsky looked exactly the same going into the cage as she did walking out. Didn't really take any sort of damage whatsoever, so sucks that Aldrich got kind of her ass beat in that fight there, but I mean, Lipsky has always been kind of one of those names in the women's flyweight division that you're always like, I think she's going to be something someday. So nice to see her get back on track there. I know JJ Aldrich for a little while was kind of held to a certain standard that she's going to be a future contender in that division. Well, there's still time. They're both unranked, so they still got time to get into the top 15, top 10, top 5. So especially with Shevchenko losing her belt, there's definitely a lot more movement in the women's flyweight division for them to advance and get bigger names. They just got to keep winning fights and make compelling call-outs and call out the right style of fighters to fight against. So good fight. Arne Lipsky decision turned into a punching bag. Now this fight was good. Tyson Nam versus Bruno Silva. It's the second fight of the night. Second fight to the opening, the prelims there. Tyson Nam, first round, kind of just staying in the center there, kind of cutting off Bruno Silva against the cage there. They exchanged some strikes back and forth, and the power was pretty even. I mean, they were landing against each other there. Neither of them was necessarily getting dropped with anything. That's until the second round, where Bruno Silva opens up with a front kick right up the middle and gets tagged and tags Tyson Nam with that front kick right up the middle, and then proceeds to lock up a rear naked choke. And what was interesting about that is he actually did a smart thing, being the shorter fighter, was able to grab the choke first and then kind of drag him down and secure the position by wrapping his legs around him there. Because with a guy like that, if you kind of take the back and he's still kind of getting to his feet, it's easier for him to shake him off. But when you got the choke already locked up around his neck, and all you got to worry about is just wrapping your legs around his waist, it's usually a lot easier to actually get the choke in. But he was able to put Tyson Nam to sleep there, and Tyson Nam's been known to be extremely tough, so in that position, don't necessarily expect him to tap, but went to sleep there. Big win for Bruno Silva there. I know he's training with Cejudo and like the Pitbull brothers and all those guys down in Fight Ready at Scottsdale, so also training in AZ sometimes, but usually trains in Brazil, so who knows, maybe training with Cejudo does something for you. I mean, John Jones seems to think so. Then opening fight of the night, Carlston Harris versus Jared Gooden. I think we know why Jared Gooden got cut from the UFC originally, because, man, it was a good fight on the feet, but there was definitely a big discrepancy once it hit the ground there. But Jared Gooden just keeps his hands way too low. He throws jabs from his hips. He doesn't even try and like set them up or anything like that. It's really hard to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt, because I mean, he was in the UFC for quite a while, got cut, fought a couple times outside the promotion, then got brought back in. So I mean, I really want to see him work on his striking defense there, because he was getting tagged left and right. And then once Carlston Harris got him on the ground, they noticed a real discrepancy there. So he was able to kind of, all right, I'm definitely better than him on the feet. I know Jared Gooden hits hard. Let's keep it on the ground here and play it safe and get the W, which he did. And, I mean, coming off that loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, you definitely want to at least get another win under your belt. You don't want to go on a 2-fight losing streak. I mean, like I said in the last video, no slouching against losing to Rakhmonov there. I mean, the guy just had a fight of the year almost with Jeff Neal, so nothing to be ashamed of if you lose to Rakhmonov there. I mean, the guy's 17-0 with all 100% finishes, but that's pretty much your entire fight card here. I mean, Petr Yan pretty much gets his crotch sniffed for 5 rounds against Merab. Volkov fights an overweight Romanov and beats the shit out of him within about 2.5 minutes. Krylov Spann have a wild transition battle on the ground there, leading into Spann falling into a triangle. And then you finally got the downfall of Said Nurmagomedov losing a, I will say, controversial. I won't say robbery, because I personally, like I said, I had it for Nurmagomedov there, but good for Martinez. I know he's been training with Mark Montoya and things like that, so he's got a really good camp behind him. Big things coming out of Martinez there. Mario Batista getting the submission win over Guido Canetti, so big things out of both those two up-and-coming bantamweights. And Vitor, Carl Williams, Davey Grant retiring a Sunsound, putting him to sleep. Victor Henry with the locks of the Lord. Ariana Lipsky using a punching bag, or turning this girl into a punching bag. But that's pretty much it for this fight card. Now, we are only 7 days away now from UFC, I think it's 286, if that's the correct number, I believe. We'll just call it 286, but I got the laptop pulled up here, so let me just be 100% correct. So upcoming, yep, UFC 286, Edwards versus Usman 3. That is in London. That is the UK. Start time, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so set your clocks accordingly. I already made sure to work back-to-back Saturdays at work, so that way I could have this one off and make sure I can watch the entire card start to finish. So very excited about that one. You got Usman and Edwards fighting for the 3rd time. Usman trying to reclaim the belt that he lost against Edwards when Edwards was able to pull out that last-second Hail Mary high kick. Then you also got a clash of striking styles between Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev, which is a banger. Now, I am a big fan of Justin Gaethje, and I'm a big fan of Rafael, so I'm not going to pick sides on that one. I'm just going to sit back and watch and enjoy the violence, but very good card. O2 Arena, London, United Kingdom. Set your calendars accordingly for that one, but other than that, that's pretty much it. as always, if you like the videos, make sure to like and subscribe. Get one out every Friday before the fights. Usually get one out after the fights here. I said I'd probably get this one out after the card was over because this one ended kind of early since it started so early in the day. But usually Fridays and Sundays are the days that I'll get the videos out. But yeah, like and subscribe if you like the content. Follow me on Twitter at SeeingRedMMA. And this is episode 10. So first time doing a podcast here. Made it all the way to episode 10. Hopefully I keep going here because this seems to be really fun and I really enjoy doing it. Even if I have 0 people watching, I'll probably still do it and just put my ugly mug up on YouTube for all you people to see if you choose to watch it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, guys. Till next week, till next Friday, better said. You guys have a great rest of your day. Follow me at SeeingRedMMA and have yourself a wonderful day. Peace.